If you're heading off to Disney and don't know where to start, click yourself.
Hello, everybody out there in Mice Chatland. Welcome back to another MiceTube Live. And we're doing our best to do these as often as we can, and particularly when there's information. And today, there was information. I have with me, as usual, Logan and Chloe, and I couldn't do this without the two of you. You are amazing. You are keeping me grounded and sane. So as I am trapped here at home near Disneyland, I know that every day I get to talk to the two of you, and honestly, to me, it's like going out with friends. So I encourage you people out there in our audience to use Facebook, Messenger or Zoom or another program like that and meet up with your friends like we're doing right now on this video, because it really helps. It helps you connect with other people and it makes you feel like everything's okay. I can think of some people right now that might be needing that, and that is the tens of thousands upon thousands of employees of the Walt Disney Company who found out today that they're being furloughed. And essentially all non-essential cast members and Imagineers who are not needed for the immediate day-to-day operations of the company are being furloughed. That's pretty heavy stuff.
I think it's really disappointing. Unfortunately, I think that we all saw it coming to a certain extent, but I think to hear the news was really heartbreaking, and to just know that the parks really are like truly shut down. The gates aren't just closed. I mean, they're not laying people off, they're furloughing people, but they're cutting their staff back and they're getting ready for some tough times. So it's really sad.
Not just the parks. This is everyone in the Walt Disney Travel Company, which includes Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, all the hotels that they book, all the travel agents and all those call centers everywhere. They're all being furloughed. It means that the corporate staff, PR, marketing, studios, Disney Creative Campus that makes the books and the merchandise and all of the product that's licensed out throughout the world, they're all being furloughed. Even Imagineering received the letter today that furloughs were coming immediately for all non-essential roles. So I think this really means that business as usual stops for the Disney company on the 19th of April. And so they're keeping everybody through that time that's working on various things. And then after that date, everything kind of freezes, just essential stuff and communications and dealing with the finances of the company. I imagine there's still a lot going on because they're still running ABC, they're still running Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN Plus. They're anchors, broadcasters. So there is some essential function of the Disney company that will continue. But the production of new content and things will probably stop at that point until it's safe for people to return to work wherever it is they work. And they have people all over the world. They have people across the United States, in every city, Disney stores in every big mall across the country. Those are all going to be furloughed as well.
There is a difference between a furlough and a layoff, and I saw that on our Facebook page there was some confusion about what the difference between the two is.
Yeah, I've seen other websites and news sources use the word layoff, and some are using the word terminated or reducing staff. And none of that is technically true in this case. Disney very specifically used the term furlough because it means that these people are still employees of the company, which means they're not going to lose seniority. If they're on a medical plan through the company right now, they get to keep it. And I think this next one is really important. They're also keeping the Disney Aspire program. And there are a lot of cast members of the park, hourly cast members, who are getting free college education through the Disney Aspire program. And they can all stay in their classes because Disney is going to continue to make those payments to their universities, so they won't have to worry about paying. So this is not a termination. This is not a layoff, which indicates that, indefinitely we don't need you anymore. And maybe, when we take up production next year or something, we'll call you back. This is just a furlough until they need these people back in their jobs. They could be called back next month, some of them. Some of them may not be needed until July or August or whenever, but it does mean Disney is going to continue to consider them to be employees. They can still call HR and get assistance from the company, just like any other employee. They're just not being paid to do a job because there's no job for them to do right now. So I think that's a pretty good way of Disney to handle it. In fact, Chloe, we talked briefly the other day about the executives taking pay cuts. And we said that we thought it was, just waiting for the second shoe to drop. What do you think about the way Disney has handled so far this unprecedented time of everything in the company shutting down so suddenly within just a few weeks of time, no income coming in, but still having this huge workforce, almost the impossible task, right? Like, what would most companies do? How do you think that Disney has handled it?
I still believe they're handling it to the best of their ability. I don't feel like any company has properly prepared for this because it's unbelievable what we're going through. I do think that, the cutting off from the top was kind of a good stunt to pull while they're kind of working on little things down below, because they definitely had these in the works when they announced that. But they decided to go with that first, so then it did trickle down. I think it's probably the best that they could do. I don't see what else they could do, honestly. I'm glad that they're sticking to their word and going through April 18th. They're not, cutting them off dry, today. And they're also going to be working with the union as well. So I don't know if it could be any better than that, as unfortunate as all the news are.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Logan. How do you feel about it?
I think they're also handling it to the best of their ability. I think that taking the executive pay cuts at the beginning was the right move to do, to show that they're not just cutting the smaller people and continuing to pay the upper level. I don't think that this was really, Disney did not really have any control over this in terms of having to shut down. They obviously didn't want to shut down. This wasn't a poor decision that was made on their part that really caused this. So I think that, they're doing everything they can to stay afloat and get through this tough time so that they can hopefully reopen.
Yeah, I think on the positive side,
back to normal.
Disney's taking the high road here. They had their executives take the pain first and show that, even though they have to stay around to run the company, they're taking a pay cut to do it. And then they do their furloughs. Now, it's very important that every employee out there that's hearing this understand, if you're in a union, talk to your union steward and find out what additional things the union may be able to do to help you. For all the hourly and salary employees that don't have a union, immediately file for unemployment and find out from your state what the maximum amount is that you're eligible for and what other programs and assistance you may be eligible for. And ask them to advise you on the federal program as well, because there has been a stimulus approved, $2 trillion, and some of that is set aside for workers nationwide who are losing their jobs. And it pays a tremendous amount of additional money on top of your state unemployment. And for many, many workers, in fact, I was just speaking to somebody at Disney today, for the majority of their hourly workers in particular, it will make up almost your entire amount that you would normally make. So I think for a lot of Disney's employees, particularly if you're not held beyond July, you'll be okay. You're gonna make almost as much as you were with Disney. Disney is not going to take away your insurance if you already have it. You didn't have insurance through them, then it's really no different than whatever you already had. And then it's just a question of not waiting. So don't delay in filing your unemployment. We don't want to see you lose money. And we know how hard it is to live on a cast member's salary, because the folks that run these parks, and you're making the magic for all of us. And we appreciate you so much, and we love you for everything you do. And we know this is a hard time, but you're going to have to jump through a few more hoops to make sure that you've still got money coming in. And pulling for you, but definitely right away. He's given you a couple of weeks to prepare. Don't wait until the last minute and then find out it takes 2 extra weeks to get your first check. So especially since millions of people nationwide are all filing for unemployment. We want you to have this time to prepare. So I do think that's the positive side of what Disney's done. They've given them time to prepare. They're not firing them. It is a good time to do this because the government has stepped in with extra money. So that's all great. The negative side of this is that Disney was really delayed till the last minute to make some announcements. It would have been wonderful if they had been a little more transparent with everybody through this process. Because aside from the cast members who are being furloughed, there are all of the contractors that are not going to get paid. All those people that work in the parks for the crystal makers and the people that bring products to the parks and food and security services, they're all employees of other companies. And they're not necessarily going to be paid because they're not being paid by Disney. So I worry about all those folks. And I think that at Disney kind of started communicating earlier that they were working on this process. They didn't know when it was going to happen, encouraging their partners, the hotels around Disney. We work with several hotels in the Anaheim area, and some of them tried to stay open until just the other day. And they didn't realize that Disney wasn't going to be reopening on April 1st because Disney had set that as a date. And because Disney had delayed, in the back of their minds, they're thinking something is going to happen with Disney. I mean, they would have already said something. And those hotels lost, some of them, hundreds of thousands of dollars by trying to stay open and paying housekeepers and front desk staff and reservationists and trying to keep their hotels extra sanitary and wiping things down. So they had to call in extra cleaning companies and all of that for just a handful of guests that were coming in. So, you know, Disney did the right thing for their workers. They have not necessarily done the right thing for their contractors and for their partners. But I hope that going forward, they'll be a little more transparent as they're nearing reopening so that some of these places can prepare. Because if they just suddenly say, hey, we're going to open tomorrow, none of the hotels that we work with would be prepared to do that. They would have to hire staff back because many of them could not afford to just furlough employees. So a lot of them did have to terminate everybody or lay everybody off. And in those circumstances, it's hard to get people back and trained and all of that. So I'm, you know, overall concerned about everyone out there, everyone who's lost a job and not just at Disney. And we are thinking about you. I know we've all been affected in one way or another, even here at the Mice Chat crew. Most of us do not do this as our full-time job. You know, this is our hobby. And, you know, we know that people's family businesses are affected and husbands and spouses, and it's a tough time for all. But we are all in this together and we will make do. There is another bit of news, and this should make pass holders happy, we hope. And on our Monday Disneyland update, I mentioned at the bottom that I was very worried about people who were losing their jobs. And although Disney had already announced that they were going to extend the date on passes by the number of days that the parks were shut down, that I was concerned that now that it looked like it was going to be a long-term shutdown, all those people who are losing jobs may not be able to afford their passes anymore. But Disney's contract continues to bill them through the end of the term of your contract regardless. So you can't just stop payments. You bought a pass for a year. They're just financing it over the course of the year. So it's just like buying a car. You own it for however many months your loan is for, and you can't just decide to suddenly stop halfway paying your loan and give the car back. So Disney did the right thing, and they are suspending payments at this time until the shutdown ends. And then your pass will continue to expire on the same date it was going to expire. So you just won't owe for the months that the parks are closed. They are giving you the option of once the parks reopen, you could, for however many months the park was closed, start making payments again and extend by that many more months if you want to. I think it's a little bit of a confusion for them to have given that option. And I'm already seeing people question, what does this mean? Do I need to do anything? You don't need to do anything. The passes are automatically going to stop being charged, and your passes are going to expire whenever they were going to expire. There is an option to add on extra months at the end, and they'll tell you more about that when the time comes. So don't worry about it now. For those people who have already paid for their passes, they're simply extending days like they had previously told you they would. And Chloe, I understand they're going to do a similar thing in Florida. Is that right?
Yes, the exact same thing.
And I think the passes are very similar. We have more levels of passes in California, but you have the monthly payment plan that's free interest loan essentially. So most people take that option. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, don't you think most pass holders should be happy with this news?
Oh, absolutely. I like that it gives them the option, depending on if you're going to continue to be a pass holder or not, or if your renewal date falls within a period that it makes sense for you to choose one option or the other. I think it's nice that they're introducing that as an option for everyone. But yeah, I was personally relieved because, I mean, right now, our income is significantly lower than what it was when everything was up and running. So our monthly payment is almost $150 every month. And so without the parks being open, that's another $150 we can put towards groceries or whatever, since we're not going anyways. So I'm thankful for it and I'm appreciative. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that are too.
Yeah, same exact situation for me. And I'm super thankful that they're stopping payments because that's money that we could really use right now. So I'm super thankful for it. And I hope pass holders continue to be thankful for it and let Disney know they appreciate it because, Logan, we talked about this. I remember it is not necessary for Disney to give pass holders anything during this shutdown.
No, it's not. They could very easily just continue payments and use that money to either continue to pay staff or continue to keep upkeep in the park. And they're not. So it's the right move to do.
Yeah. The contract we all signed stated that they're not responsible for closures of the park and that all pass holders are responsible to make full payment on the entire term of their pass. So they did have the right, even before when they announced that they were just going to extend the days. Even that was a nicety because they could have simply just kept charging you and given you no extra days. That was within their rights, but so far they've done the right thing. They, originally it was just going to be a 15-day, 2-week shutdown, and so they extended dates. And now that it looks like it could be months, they're stopping payments. This is the best that we pass holders could have hoped for. So right now, we've got to really thank Disney across the board for its staff. They're kind of doing the right thing here. They took the pain. They're, giving people notice. They're only furloughing them. Really, the messaging on that was spot on. I think Disney is the example for the rest of the economy for how a big corporation should handle its employees. And then for the customers, the pass holders who are really their best customers, the ones that go the most often, they're also extending out as much as they can. And this from a company that is bleeding money, right? So we've talked about how every division of the company is not making money right now except ABC. And even at ABC, the television network, the number of advertisers is much reduced because the number of companies that are still open to advertise or that have money to advertise has been reduced. So across the board, every division of the company is either shut down or significantly diminished in revenue. So you've got to give kudos to Disney for continuing to pay out to so many people at such a hard time. It's really impressive. But so here they are, a lot of money going out the door right now. And Chloe, we just heard something really interesting in Orlando. What is that?
Disney purchased more land directly next to the Magic Kingdom, which we hear about all this money being tossed back and forth, projects being defunded, cast members being furloughed, but then lands being purchased. So very interesting.
It is. I remember in December, we had a story about Disney buying over 100 acres of land near Celebration. And it was suspected that that was kind of a transfer in legalese because there's a set amount of land that Disney has set aside for natural preservation. So in order for them to continue developing the Walt Disney World Resort, they have to allow for a certain amount of that natural land. So what they've done is they created this new tract of Disney World that's not even connected to Disney World, but it's very close. And that's all going to be left natural so that they can develop more of the land inside of the resort that you currently know. So it's kind of like a shell game. But then they purchased this parcel. It's not nearly as large as that one in December. This one I think is like 26 acres or something. I can't remember the exact size, but even that's a significant amount of land. And I wonder what it is they're going to use it for. We have to look into that. But it's kind of interesting that even in the middle of all this, Disney is still playing their shell game and doing.
What's interesting is, weren't they supposed to? They were getting close to announcing a fifth gate. I believe it's themed around the villains, but then 9/11 set that back. So now it's kind of weird that like the timeline is, they're closed for COVID and they bought more land. I don't know. It just, eventually they're going to have to build another park, whether that's in the next 5, 10, 15 years, or it's going to happen, but it's very interesting, the timing.
Yeah, and it seems like every time they get close to that happening, here Universal is getting ready to open a whole new resort, and it's going to be not even connected to the one they already have in Orlando, but you're going to have to run buses between the two. And the new resort area is going to be large enough for 3 parks. So they're really going after Disney. And it's a tremendous thing. So Universal is going full guns after Disney. Disney is shell gaming themselves into even a larger tract of land than Universal did so that they could counter. And then this happens, so that all work has stopped and they're going to wait and see. We are hearing that Universal has pulled back on some of their big projects they're working on. Perhaps the Jurassic World project that they were working on may be paused or canceled. And we don't know about their Epic Universe Park, if that's going to continue on as planned, or if they might also put a hold on that for an indefinite period of time, because they own the land, so they can do something with it whenever they wanted to. And Universal has in the past done some very surprising things. The last time there was a major slowdown after 9/11, they continued to work on Wizarding World of Harry Potter and got those parks opened, and they opened just at the right time to bring people in when people were starting to be ready to travel again. So I think that just stopping everything isn't necessarily the solution. Maybe for a short period of time, if you don't have the money to pay people, don't do it. But if you've got the money, finish your projects, because it takes so long to build something. It takes years. So if you hope that the economy is going to be better in 2 to 4 years, go ahead and build that new land. Because about the time that it's done, people are going to be looking for somewhere to go, and you won't have anything if you didn't build it. So I really do hope that Disney, with all of this money that they've raised billions of dollars in debt over the last month. They had a $6 billion debt offering, and then they raised another $1 billion in Canada just a week later. So they've had $7 billion. Well, you could build 7 theme parks for that. They won't. That money is going to be used to pay off some of the debt for buying the Fox properties. So they bought 20th Century Fox, all the movies, television shows, all of that stuff goes to Disney. But it was so expensive that Disney has to pay on that every month, and they didn't have enough money to pay off their Fox debt. But they also need money to run their current studios and all these properties they own. And they own Walt Disney World, which is a tremendous amount of land. Imagine what it costs to run Walt Disney World even when it's closed, because all the water pumps need to keep working, and facilities need to keep going, and every refrigerator still needs to keep running so you don't lose the food, and you still need to have security there, and you still need to maintain gardens and stuff, and make sure that trees don't fall into roadways, and you need to keep people out of the resort area, and that requires a lot of people. And there's just an endless amount of money that's going to be pouring out of the Disney World Resort, even without a single guest there. And that takes cash, and so they're raising debt offerings to do that. So these are really weird, trying times, aren't they?
They really are. It's very eerie sometimes. So when you like kind of take a step back at what's going on right now and think like this isn't normal. This is not normal, because it's almost, I don't want to say feeling normal, but this whole quarantine thing is, we're all week 2 or 3, depending on where we live now. So we're kind of adjusting to just that way of life. And it's like, wait a second, this is not how it's supposed to be. This was not what it was like a month ago. I was at Food and Wine Festival. The
last thing that really felt like this to me, and this is so much, worse. It's hard to compare tragedies, but 9/11, I was running 2 call centers at that time, very large centers with lots of employees around the world. And I got a phone call from somebody asking me to turn on my television. and I turned on the television and couldn't believe what I was seeing. And by the end of that day, our whole world had been turned upside down, and the parks all closed, travel stopped. People were afraid to take airplanes. It really affected tourism. And that was awful. And we still talk about it to this day. I mean, we call it 9/11. Everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
This is going to be a similar kind of thing, but magnitudes worse, because so many more people have already died worldwide. The shutdown, instead of being days, is going to be weeks and months. The effect to the economy is going to be infinitely worse, because so many people have lost their jobs. Already far more than in the entire record keeping of jobless claims in the United States. 6 million people have already claimed unemployment benefits. And nothing even comes like a little blip on the chart of where we are now and where we've been in the past since records have been kept. So how will this affect tourism and all of that? It's going to be epic, but I think it's going to affect every sector of our economy, every industry, and it's going to be with us for quite some time, take a long time to recover. So we're going to talk about this for generations to come, but we're in the middle of it, so we don't have perspective on it yet. And my grandmother, who kind of a child of the Great Depression, if you can imagine, she used to tell us stories about how they would go days and days and days without any meat in their house, and they'd be really lucky if their dad brought home a potato, and they would boil a potato. And if they were lucky to get a rabbit or a chicken, the whole family, would consume it, and they each had their little piece that they would eat. And I remember as a child crying when I heard her tell the story, and how she was emotional about it, even as an old lady. And here it is starting to happen to us. And I don't want people to think it's going to be as bad as the Great Depression, but it could be. We just need to be prepared for it and know that the world that we know is changing. And we need to adapt, and we need to find clever and positive ways to keep ourselves healthy and safe and help each other. And, we've been trying to do that here on the Mice Chat staff and help each other out, and doing sanity checks on each other every day, and making sure that everybody has a home and everybody has food. And, we are encouraging all of our listeners and readers and followers to do the same. So if you have a neighbor that maybe is an elderly person or lives alone, just make sure you're doing a wellness check on them. It doesn't have to mean that you're getting within the 6-foot bubble, but make sure that they've got something to eat and that somebody's checking on them. We don't want people to get sick and die and nobody to know. And it's incumbent upon all of us to step up. And I'm only bringing this up not to bring anyone down, and we're going to lift you back up, I promise. But because I think that when we do these shows and content and everything that we do, and it's all about Disney, it's all about entertainment, this is a luxury. And it makes me feel guilty that we are still obsessed about this luxury item that we're so lucky to have and will come back to us, when the world is flipping upside down. And we're doing it still because we know that it helps people out there stay grounded in the thing they love, and to know that sanity will return. But it also, on the other side, we can't be so focused on our fantasies that we're not helping people in need. So I do encourage you all to keep balanced. Keep your families healthy and safe, but reach out to others in this time of need. Have compassion. And we'll get through this. And like Disney and others are saying, all the Disney stars have been putting out we're all in this together videos and all of that. I'm all for that. We are all in this together, and we really have to reach out for the least of these. So it's not a sermon. It's just we're using our voice to remind folks that you have power, use it. Now is the time to use all that banked power over the years, whatever you've learned, any resources you have, to do some good for others. And we really appreciate you and what you're able to do for others. So thank you for that. Now, we're going to give a little something else back to you. We're going to leave this on a positive note. We're going to try to end all of these videos on a positive note. And I'm going to start with my sunshiny Chloe.
So I have a personal recommendation that's available on Disney Plus. This is something that I stumbled across on Netflix quite a few years ago, and I had no idea what it was, but it's called The Reluctant Dragon. And if you have not watched this, the poster and the synopsis, I think Disney Plus is a little bit more transparent about what it's about. But it can be misleading. There's a big green Elliot looking dragon on the poster, and the information talks about a Mr. Benchley, who is Robert Benchley. He was a famous humorist in the 40s, goes to propose the story about the Reluctant Dragon to Walt Disney himself. And the movie is literally about Robert Benchley going through the Walt Disney Studios and touring each department, the ink and paint department, the sound effects department, the multi-plane camera room, and you see some of the original Nine Old Men, voice actors, and Walt himself for a little while as well. It's a hidden gem. I had no idea this thing even existed a couple of years ago, and now it's on Disney Plus, and I just rewatched it again recently, and I love it. It's really great. You even see little tidbits of Dumbo and Bambi being made in the studio, which is really, really cool to see.
Wow, that's neat. So I have to watch that. You know, I've seen the poster for it before, and I always assumed it was just an animated film.
Me too. There is a little bit like, in between of the story of the Reluctant Dragon, but it's actually a really cute story. It looks kind of silly, but I always thought, just scrolling through it was a random short or, mini feature, but it's very misleading. It's very good.
Oh, that's a fantastic one, Chloe. Thank you. It's a good one. Put that on your list, everybody. Let me know what you think. You leave comments at the bottom of this video down below. Make sure you do that. Let us know what you thought of The Reluctant Dragon. And Mr. Logan, what's your thing that you're loving right now?
So I'm also going to turn to Disney Plus. I'm going to look up the name here just so I get it right. It's the Disney Plus Earth series. It just kind of came out this month for the Earth Month. I wrote about it on MiceChat if you want to go check it out. But I really enjoyed The Planet of Birds, and the other one was Wild Yellowstone. And I really enjoyed those two. But if you were to watch any of them on there, I think it's good to just kind of get in touch with nature right now. Not only because it's Earth Month, but you're not focusing on other human beings or what society used to be like or anything like that before this horrible virus hit. You just get to be with nature and kind of see a whole different side of the world. So I recommend that.
I saw the Yellowstone one the other night. I loved it. So beautiful. I definitely recommend that. And I'm looking forward to the two new ones that they released for this month. There's one about dolphins and there's one about elephants. And the one about elephants is narrated by Meghan Markle, the former princess. So she gave up her title as Duchess of whatever to be the elephant lady. So there you go. Don't miss that one. Let us know what you think about that one, folks. I haven't watched that one yet, and I'm dying to because people are complaining about her narration. Not everybody, but some people have really panned it. So that just makes me want to watch it even more. So
yeah, I'm excited to check it out as well.
My thing that I'm loving right now is actually something on MiceChat. It's a new series we have called 10 Minutes of Magic. And it's just 10-minute videos that are like little moments of Zen. And I say that because Mark, the gentleman that recorded these videos, who's an ex-Imagineer, he goes to theme parks all over the world. He sets up his camera in a fixed location for 10 minutes and doesn't move. So you see people getting on and off ride vehicles or going up and down Main Street or on and off of Jungle Cruise boats. And it's not action. He's not even taking you through the whole attraction. He's just in one spot. It's just Zen, and it's like being in a theme park. So for me, it's sort of my daily meditation. And I prep the articles, he sends them over, and then I get them ready and put the cover images on them and write some of the text, like I do on so many things. But then I always take 10 minutes to watch it before I post it. And it's been really helpful to my mental health. So I'm just telling you all, if you just need to relax, get away from the crazy, be back in the theme park environment for 10 whole minutes of not action. There's no boulders or witches trying to drop a rock on your head. None of that. No dolls singing nonstop at you. You'll just have the ebb and flow of a theme park. And I like to, when I post it on Facebook, I always say 3, 2, 1, relax. and you just press play and then let it go for 10 minutes. It's just lovely.
Disney.
Lovely. So I recommend that to everyone. Have either of you watched any of those videos?
Yes, I'm a big fan. I love it. It's awesome.
Me too. I think my favorite, and it's funny because, you know, we post the video and folks are so used to people posting ride-through videos, they're not quite sure what to make of this. And we posted the one on the Tron ride, and it's taken just above the loading bay. And you see those motorcycles, the light cycles just heading off into the mountain, one after another, and it's just blue and glowing with that sound from Tron in the background. And I just loved it. But people were posting all this hate stuff on our Facebook saying that was the most boring video I've ever watched. I'm like, well, you don't get it.
No, they don't. They don't get it.
So now you all know. So before you hit play, please don't expect a ride through on Indiana Jones. So that's what we have for you today, folks. We're going to be back with you again real soon because there's so much more to talk about. We've lined up some people, some celebrities and people to come and talk to us. The show we did just before this one, we had a travel expert on who told us about what to do if you have a vacation that needs to be rebooked and the deals that are coming up. I mentioned that I wanted to go to Alani, and she just wrote me today and said that 30% deal that I talked about yesterday is now 35%. So it's just gotten better, and those kinds of things are going to happen, and we'll keep you up to date here